A big data strategist, Mark, advises organizations on how to develop their big data strategies and business cases. He's an entrepreneur with a drive for innovative concepts that make a difference and inspire others, including a strong background in online and mobile marketing, strategy, social media, and big data. He's the author of the book, Think Bigger, Developing a Successful Big Data Strategy for Your Business. It was published in April 2014. He's a blogger on dataflock.com, as well as other platforms around the web. Additionally, Mark is co-founder of Data Donderdag, a bi-monthly networking event in the Netherlands to help organizations better understand big data. So with that, I welcome Mark to the stage.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First of all, Jack, thank you very much for paving the road for me with your speech, because when I talk about big data, I always say it's really time to think bigger. We are in a different setting, a different age, and things are really changing rapidly. And with that, I'd like to take this quote, which was said a few years ago by Google Eric Schmidt, and at that time, it was in 2009, he said we created 2 exabytes of data every 2 days. But that's changing rapidly. At the moment, what we see is we're creating a lot of data, and we're moving from clean data in the past to more messy data, more unstructured data. And we need to clean up that data, and we need to work with that data. That's very important, but it's also very difficult to do that. And what we see in the past years that we have seen a lot of advancement in technology, and it looks like we are already there. We have a lot of great computers, we have the iPhone, which is doing a great job, but we are just getting started. If you look at this infographic, it shows you that in the past we were at kilobytes and megabytes. Today we're talking about terabytes, petabytes, and some of you might have heard about exabytes. But tomorrow we're going to talk about zettabytes, yottabytes, and even brontobytes. And I've even heard the term geobytes, which is 10 to the power 30. That's massive amounts of data. And to bring it into perspective, if we take a zettabyte, and it is expected that next year we will create around 1.3 zettabyte of data. If we put it into perspective and we take a $1 bill, and we're going to stack $1 bills on top of each other, and we want to create as much dollar bills as bits in a zettabyte, we're going to get a stack of dollar bills from the Earth to Pluto 100 times back and forth. So we're talking about massive amounts of data, and that is really changing the way we live. And we see that accelerated change is basically the only constant. And we see that a lot of online organizations are like the Googles, the Twitters, the Facebook of this world. They are already working with this, and they are really changing the world as we see it. And this accelerated change results, of course, in big data. And big data has already been mentioned a lot, and it was already mentioned by Alok about the 7 V's, or the 6 V's, or the 3 V's, or the 4 V's. And there are so many different terminology around big data. What is important is to know that big data means something different for everyone in every organization, every industry, and it's the understanding that what big data can do for your organization that makes it important to know. So I just want to take a look at these 7 V's and to see what it can do in general, but also in terms for bridges and infrastructure. So if we take a look at the variety of data, we see that we have a lot of structured data and unstructured data. And in the past years, we moved from structured data to unstructured data. And there are these reports or numbers that say that at the moment, about 80% of the data is unstructured data. What we'll see in the future is that in the coming 5 years, actually, we'll move back to structured data with a lot of sensor data coming our way. And sensor data, of course, also being used in the infrastructure. If we look at velocity, these numbers are just from a consumer perspective, but we'll see that velocity, the speed at which the data will be created, is going up rapidly. So we're creating more data faster, and we'll need to analyze the data faster in real time. If you look at volume, I already showed you the infographic. We're going to the brontobytes era, but that's already happening. The airplanes in the world are creating 2.5 billion terabytes of data every year. And that's going to increase in the coming years due to the disasters like the MH370, where they're now going to put more sensors in the airplanes. The Square Kilometre Area Telescope, which is being constructed in Australia and in South Africa, is going to produce 1 exabyte of data per day. And it's already mentioned quite a lot of times, the self-driving car by Google is producing 1 gigabyte of data per second. Thinking about that as an ordinary car in the US drives 600 hours, that's 2 petabytes of data a year per car. Well, if we think about a few billion cars in the world, we'll talk about a lot of data. And the same, if we move on to veracity, it's already been mentioned today quite a few times in the morning, and we need a lot of good data. Good data is very important because the data needs to be correct. But it's not only the data that needs to be correct, it's also the algorithms that needs to be correct. So as an organization, you need to look into the algorithms that you have and the data that you have to ensure that they are correct. And then we have variability. Variability is about the context. It was also already mentioned today. And the context also in bridges is very important. Because if you understand the context why all of a sudden the traffic increases into a bridge, you can take action accordingly. Visualization, raw data is just useless. We need to visualize the data. We need to be able to make the data available and understandable for those that need to make the decision about it. And in the end, of course, value. Big data offers tremendous value. If you understand what's going on, you can take predictive action, and you can save a lot of money with that. But also, like Amazon is doing with predictive ordering, you can increase your revenue. I'd like to take a look at 2 examples outside of the infrastructure industry to see what's happening. Because we see that, for example, the Aurora Healthcare Center, perhaps some of you are familiar with this, a large healthcare center in the east coast of the States, they are really using and applying big data in a very, very innovative way. So what they're doing, they're combining all kinds of data sources, from the social media data of the patient, medicine data of the patient, medical records of the patient, records of the doctor, how he has treated patients, etc. And they have developed an algorithm that advises the doctor which treatment to take. And that has brought down readmissions by 10%, saving $6 million on an annual basis. And this is just the start. Of course, there are a lot more possibilities with that. If you look at UPS at the moment is the most efficient transportation company in the world. They are combining thousands of different data sources all together. So on the one hand, they have about 1,000 sensors in each truck, which measures where the truck drives, where it goes to, how fast it drives, how fast it brakes, which route it takes, which packages they have. And they combine it with data such as traffic jams, weather, prices of gas, etc. And they're able to give route optimizations 10,000 times per minute to all the different trucks. And that way, the trucks always drive the most efficient routing. Well, that having said, I basically don't like the term big data. Because big data is a very vague term, and it helps us think that we need to use a lot of the data. But I bet there are only a few companies in the world at this moment who use about petabytes or exabytes of data. So the thing is, when you start using big data, it's all about mixed data. That's what I like the term I'd like to use. And mixed data really means combining different data sources to create insights from that. And that's the approach you should take also when you start implementing data and sensors in your infrastructure. A few trends, many of them were already mentioned, and the Internet of Things I don't have to explain. But what we'll see is, at the moment there are about 5 to 10 billion connected sensors to the Internet. Reports are that by 2020 we will have around 50 billion sensors. And the estimates vary, of course, but I've seen figures that by 2030 we'll have 100 trillion sensors connected to the Internet. So that's going to completely change the game. And what we see, for example, in Songdo, which is a smart city in South Korea, they already were living the future. So they have created sensors and put sensors in everything that they have. It's a completely new city. So they have sensors in the roads, they have sensors in the buildings, they have sensors in the trash cans. Even garbage creates data in Songdo. And they collect all that data centrally to monitor what's going on and to optimize the traffic, to optimize the traffic flow. The lights go on as soon as someone walks by, etc. They monitor how many people are in the buildings to optimize the energy flow. So everything is being monitored thanks to the sensors. A second trend which is important is that nowadays there's so much data available, which is open data and public data, that can be used. The Obama government administration has put about a few $100 million in this public data because it's so important. Because there are so much data available that you can use as an organization or as a startup or as a company to create more insights and better insights. And I'll have a few examples of that later on. And finally, real-time analytics. Real-time, I already mentioned in the beginning, the velocity of data is changing, and you want real-time insights. If there's a crack on the bridge and the sensor noticed that, you want to know it now and not tomorrow or not next week. And so you need to be able to analyze all the data in milliseconds. And thankfully, that's possible nowadays. So what can big data mean for the civil infrastructure? Well, today, this morning, I read in the paper that actually the Netherlands rates the third best country in terms of infrastructure. And of course, I'm very proud of that. The infrastructure, I must say, in the Netherlands is really, really fantastic. And we also work with big data to optimize our infrastructure. And one of that is we use it in a smart dike. We Dutch know a thing or two about water, and we try to use our knowledge in water to optimize, also to keep our country safe. So we have developed a smart dike, which is basically a dike full of sensors. And these sensors can measure absolutely everything about how the dike is performing, about how strong the dike is, how the dike is behaving in terms when it rains, when a flood is coming, etc. But these sensors can also monitor how the water is, if there's any pollution, what are the biological changes in the environment. So it's combining all kinds of data sets to understand the environment of the dike and to predict and to warn authority when something is about to break, which of course we want to prevent. As a result, the dike, which normally used to be done by hand with dike monitoring, people going through all the dikes and testing how strong the dike was, that's now done automatically. We also have the Hollandse Brug, which is the Holland Bridge, which is one of the busiest bridges in the Netherlands. And a few years ago, they found out that it was deteriorating, and they had to close it for freight transportation. That's, of course, a big economical impact in the Netherlands. But they rebuilt it, and they implemented a few hundred sensors within the bridge. So they put sensors on the sides, they put sensors in the concrete, they had cameras that monitoring the traffic, they have a weather station, and they combine all this data to get a better insights about how the bridge is performing. And together, at the moment, this bridge produces 1 terabyte of data every day. And we are constantly improving that also in other bridges that are now being built. Another bridge, which is in South Korea, is also setting the standards for smart bridges, because they are creating they have implemented a few hundred sensors within the bridge, which, as we've already heard, is not that spectacular. But what they have done is they've created these sensors that are able that doesn't require electricity, because it has its own battery, and it only wakes up once every while to understand what's going on. That way, it's very easy to implement these sensors on the bridges to create a smart bridge without needing the enormous funding that normally is required to create this. And of course, the St. Antonius Falls Bridge, the new one, which when it was built in 2008, is one of the smartest bridges in the US, with about 400 sensors monitoring everything that's going on. And even monitoring how the road is going, and to see if there's ice on there, which anti-freeze spray will pop up to keep the road clear. So what do these bridges have in common? What do all these smart bridges that we've heard about in the past have in common? Well, I think there are 5 benefits if you combine big data with bridges. One of them is improved monitoring. And yesterday I was actually quite surprised by a video which was shown, which was monitoring the sound with scraping the road surface. That's manual work, and that's a lot of work. With the right sensors, that's not necessary anymore. So you can improve the monitoring of the bridge, and you can understand in real time what's going on with the bridge. And that helps, of course, if you know what's going on with the bridge, to have predictive maintenance, and to prevent and to repair a bridge before it breaks down, before you have to close it. Because closing a bridge down costs a lot of money in economical terms. Of course, it also results in improved safety. So if you can maintain your bridge faster and better, of course the bridge becomes more safer. As well as the anti-freeze spray that's used in Minnesota at the moment, of course, the roads have become more safe. And When you are doing the maintenance before the problem appears, that saves a lot of money. You don't have to close the bridge, and the maintenance saves a lot of cost. But the interesting thing is also that you also get a lot of more additional insights. So not only how is the bridge performing, but also how is the surrounding of the bridge performing. And even you can go this far to understand what are the economical activities around the bridge. If you monitor traffic, if you monitor the weight of the freight transportation, if you monitor how many people cross the bridge, etc. So you can get a lot of additional insights, which can be useful for your organization as well. So if you look at the future, I think the infrastructure of the future is full of sensors. And the infrastructure of the future will be sort of a living organism that is going to talk to everything that's surrounded by the infrastructure. So we have bridges talking to cars, talking to trucks, talking to the environment, to houses, whatsoever. And that's really going to change the game. Thank you.